Welcome to this week's episode of Analyzing Chazal. This week we'll be analyzing the commentary of the Baal HaTurim on this week's Parsha, Parshas Bamidbar. Let's start with the Pasuk. Perek Aleph, Pasuk Gimel, the Pasuk says as follows. Mi ben esrim shana v'mala koyotzei tzava b'Yisrael tifkudu osam l'tzivosam atov v'Aaron. From the age of 20 and up, all those who will be of age to fight in the army, you should count them according to their legion, you and Aharon. The Baal HaTurim. Well, the Mala b'chisisa lo sia Aaron ba'oso minyan lefishal yodo nase ha'egel shebishvilo hutzrechu leminyan lekach lo monon hu. In the earlier counting mentioned in Parshas Kisisa, Aaron did not help in the counting since through him the golden calf was built, and that was what necessitated the counting. For this reason, Aaron was not involved in the count. The explanation of the Baal HaTurim. The Baal HaTurim explaining the reason why in the prior counting Aaron was not involved was because that counting related to the plague that occurred after the sin of the golden calf, and Aaron was inadvertently involved in the making of the golden calf. The type of question we'll be using is that the commentary is trying to explain a discrepancy, but it would seem the exact opposite of the explanation should be true. Hint. Think about how you would feel being left out of the first counting. Okay, with the type of question we'll be using and the hint, can you come up with the question yourself? Okay, here's the question. God told Moshe to count Bnei Israel himself as Aaron was an indirect cause of the sin of the golden calf. It would seem that the reason behind this is that Aaron should not feel bad when he counts Bnei Israel and remembers that he is the indirect cause of the plague that killed them and necessitated the counting. However, would it not make Aaron feel worse that he is being left out of the counting that he knew was for the plague that resulted from the sin of the golden calf? The answer, as we always say, comes from within the question, which was that the reason behind Aaron being left out of the counting is that Aaron should not feel bad. However, would it not make Aaron feel worse that he's being left out of the counting that he knew was due to the plague that resulted from the sin of the golden calf? The answer is no, and the reason is that the feeling a person gets when he's involved in something that reminds him of a sin he did is much worse than being left out of something that will remind him of the same sin. The practical application. In our lives, we sometimes find ourselves in situations where we need to interact with a person who went through a difficult time. We need to be very careful as not to involve him in an activity that will cause him to remember and focus on the difficult time he went through. It would seem from this Baal HaTurim that this would apply even if by omitting him from a particular activity might also cause him pain, but the pain from knowing he has to do something and reminds him of the suffering would be worse. Obviously, every case is different, and people might also react badly to being omitted from an activity, which is why when we face these type of situations, we should consult with our Rabbanim to ensure we are doing the right thing. Have a wonderful Shabbos and a wonderful Yontif, and we'll see you next week for Parshas Naso.